Another day, another Genshin Impact tier list. Today, what I'm going to be doing is putting these characters in this tier list based on which one of their voiceover languages I think fits the character the best. Now, I have to make this very clear. All of these voice actors are talented and I think they all do a great job. Also, the tier list order of these tiers, it doesn't matter. Believe me, this is not saying that English is better than the other languages in terms of a language, culture, or anything. That is literally just the order that I typed them in when I was looking back at the different languages available in game. So this isn't necessarily a tier list in terms of like tiers being better than one another. This is more of a categorization of all the different languages from all the different characters. My opinion is not your opinion. You can think differently and you should think differently. I don't want this intro to be very long, but I want to make it very clear. This is just a matter of me picturing the character or looking at the character, hearing the different voice lines, and then deciding which one of these fits what I feel this character would sound the most like. Also, I had never listened to the Korean or Chinese voices for these characters before doing this video, and I was actually surprised by how many of them I did like. If you like stupid tier lists like this one, feel free to hit the like button, maybe subscribe if you want to stick around and see more of them like this, but I'm not going to pressure you into doing that because you haven't even seen the video yet, so hopefully by the end you'll choose to stick around, and let's get started. For Albedo, I decided to put him in the English voice actor section. This is just because the English seemed to be a little smoother in the texture of the voice, and it was also calm as I would expect Albedo to be. That's not to say that none of the others were calm, but out of all of them, I just felt that this voice fit Albedo the most, and that should be obvious, or else I wouldn't have put him in the English voice actor section.
Good night. You go ahead and rest. I will just finish one last experiment before bed. If you are interested in the results, I can discuss them with you tomorrow.
Aether was a little bit harder, but I eventually decided to put him up in the Korean voice actor section. This is just because I felt that the pitch of the voice and the overall tone fit him the best. Though again, that's the point, so I kinda need to stop using that as my reason.
몬드는 바람의 나라라고 하잖아. 근데 아직 이 계절의 바람이 어디서 불어오는 건지 모르겠어.
My choice for Aloy is a bit funny just because I'm pretty sure English is the only voice actor that wasn't the one from Horizon Zero Dawn, but overall, they're all fine. But I did pick the English voice actor for her as well. I do like the Japanese one, but in the end, English came out on top.
Aloy here. I don't know this world, but my arrows are sharp and my bow's ready. If your party needs help, I'll do what I can.
When I think of Amber, I think of playful, I think of energetic, and out of the different voices here, I felt that the Japanese fit that the best.
実は謎解きって得意じゃないの。バトル同祭で謎解きの屋台を見つけても近づかないの。あんたはどう？見て、あそこに鳩がいる。あの子たちと一緒に飛びたいな。
I was quite surprised when I listened to the voice lines for Arataki, because the English one was, I liked the English one to begin with, but the Chinese one actually surprised me because it also sounded really good. That's not to say that the others did not sound good, I have to make that clear. But between English and Chinese, I do like the English a little bit more, just because he seems to have more personality in it, but both of them did a fantastic job.
Real men don't carry umbrellas. Oh boy, wow, it's really starting to pick up. Quick, come on, get yours out. Come on, quick.
Barbara is going to be joining Amber in the Japanese voice actor tier. When it comes to her voice, I think the smoother, younger sounding, happy girl just fits. And that's what the Japanese sounded the most like to me.
バーバラ、堂々登場。治療なら任せてね。がっかりさせないから。
In my opinion, Beidou should be a very boisterous character, loud and just very confident, and the one that fit that description the best for me was Japanese, though English probably came in second, I think. Overall though, I decided to put her in Japanese, as you can probably see.
私は北斗。私の南十字戦隊は知っているか？あんたも冒険が好きならついてきな。 私が守ってやる。
The voice that seemed to fit Bennett the best to me was the Japanese one as well. And of course, how could you pass up the opportunity to hear Boken da Boken every time you sprint?
サンドイッチを持ってきたが食べるか？半分こして。うまい。悪い、喉に詰まった。
Chong Yoon is going to be the first character that I actually chose the Chinese voice actor for. Now, like I might have said at the beginning, I haven't listened to all of these different voice actors before. I've only listened to the English for some of them and Japanese for pretty much all of them. So it was nice to actually find some of these voices for characters that I thought fit the character better than the ones that I'd been using.
我名重云，家族久居璃月，世代以驱邪除魔为业。今日萍水相逢，看来我与阁下有些缘分。不收钱的，不收钱。
Deluxe was another where the English VA seemed to fit pretty well, and I did like it, but I think the Japanese just edges it out a little bit, so he'll also be joining the Japanese tier. Again, I just want to make this clear, when I'm saying that one sounds quote-unquote better than the other, if I say it like that, I just mean that if I close my eyes, listen to that voice, and I picture that character, it seems to fit the best out of the four. None of them are bad by any means, it's just which one I think fits that character the best. I probably already explained that, but I just want to make that very clear.
モンドのディルック、約束通り参上。無駄話ならご遠慮願いたい。何か大事をなそうとしているなら、興味はある。
Diona is up next, and she'll be going up in the Korean voice actor tier. The game does tell us that she's a tsundere, and obviously she is a younger character. So with those in mind, plus just trying to imagine what she might sound like, the Korean voice actor just seemed to fit the bill the best.
좋은 아침. 찬장에 있는 절인 미꾸라지 좀 줘봐. 좋아. 이제 몬드 주리업을 망쳐볼까?
I decided to put Yula in the Japanese voice actor tier. I think it's a nice, calmer voice. It's not super over the top, and I think she is a much calmer person. Of course, you know, you get the whole vengeance side of her, but I just mean like overall, she doesn't seem like the character who'd be super emotive and kind of high-pitched, so I went with the Japanese because I felt that that portrayed the tone that I thought she would present herself with the most.
起きなさい。日の出前の2時間は徹夜した将兵が一番疲れている時間帯よ。絶好のチャンスなんだから。
I was surprised by this one because I do like the Japanese voice for Fischl, but I had never heard the others, like I've said, and I actually did end up liking Korean a little bit more for the character.
운명의 속삭임이 나의 존귀한 이름을 부르는 게 들리는군.
Ganyu was another character that I was surprised to find. I did enjoy the Korean voice actor a lot for this one as well, but ultimately I chose to put her in the Japanese voice actor tier, but she is a very shy character overall, and so I assume she'd be a little bit on the quieter side, just a quieter character overall, and thus the Japanese seem to fit that sort of idea of what she might sound like the most. She kind of portrays almost a panicky tone in some of the voice lines, like she's getting a bit anxious in the conversations, and that just seemed to fit.
おはようございます。どこか変ですか？あまり髪飾りをじっと見ないでください。
Obviously, I have not heard any of Goro's voice lines yet because I don't have him on any account since I wasn't pulling for Arataki Ito. So all of these were my first listen, and overall, I did, once again, choose the Japanese voice actor tier. For some of the younger looking characters, I know you have like the youngest ones being like Diona, Klee, and those, but then the next tier, I guess like middle-aged, still kind of young, you know, Goro, Chung Yoon, Bennett, those kinds of characters. I think for Goro, some of them seemed a little too deep, and for some of them overall, the voices, just to me, came off as a little too deep or a little too mature. So that was one of the reasons why I made these decisions.
たくましい体格は力の象徴。士気の鼓舞にも役立つ。もっと頑張らねば。
Hu Tao was one that took me a while to make a decision on because I really do like the Japanese voice actor. I love the expression in the Japanese voice, but overall, the tones of the voice that I like the most and the one that I felt could portray this character the best is actually the Chinese.
胡桃的胡是胡吃海喝的胡，胡桃的桃却不是淘气的淘。不好笑吗？
With Jean, I feel she should be very mature, she should be confident, and kind of a almost softer tone. So, the one that I felt portrayed that the best would be the Japanese one.
ダンディライオン騎士ジン、入隊させていただきたい。これから先、私の栄誉と忠誠はあなたと共にある。
Kazuha is going to break the tradition here, and he's going to be going up in the Chinese category. I thought that I was going to prefer the Japanese voice for Kazuha, but I was surprised that I liked the Chinese, and the Korean was good as well, but I felt it was a little too deep for Kazuha.
见到了这么美丽的景色，自然会产生云游四海的想法吧。
Kaya might have gone into the English voice actor section. However, I do like his Japanese voice just because it sounds a little bit more playful and flirty to me. But even though it does have those qualities, the overall pitch and tone of it seems to really fit his character.
お前、まさか暗いところが苦手なんじゃないよな。へえ、どうやら新しいネタが手に入ったようだ。
With Ayaka, I wanted her to be on the modest side, maybe a touch of shyness or nervousness in the voice, but overall she carries herself well, a little bit of a softer tone, and the one that I felt incorporated all of those qualities the most was the Japanese.
稲妻上里流太刀術免許開伝、上里彩香、参ります。よろしくお願いします。
Kaching was another character where I ran into some difficulties choosing between the different voices, but in the end, I did end up choosing Korean for her.
좋은 아침? 아침 컨디션은 하루의 기분을 결정하니까 피곤하더라도 정신 차리라고.
Now, I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but with Klee, the one that I picked was the Chinese. And the reason was it sounded the least annoying to me. Now, there's no hate here towards any of the voice actors. They all did a great job voicing the character, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been chosen. But with Klee, I just, some of the voices, you know, they get a little repetitive. They kind of, you know, high-pitched or almost squeaky. And the Chinese maintained that sound of a younger, youthful, just energetic character while also not being too over the top. So I'm happy to say that I picked the Chinese voice for Klee.
西方骑士团火花骑士可莉前来报道。后面该说什么词来着？可莉背不下来了。
When it came to Kujo Sara, I was looking for a voice that kind of portrayed, you know, maturity and some authority as well. But I kind of wanted to detect a little bit of emotion behind it because I felt, you know, if they don't have any emotion, then they probably wouldn't be trying to protect everything. But wait, Shao exists. Okay, well, for Kujo Sara, I felt that she should just have you could just kind of hear that, you know, the little touch of emotion behind the voice. And the one that just seemed to fit all of that the best to me was actually the English.
The duty of a Tengu warrior is to watch over the mountains and forests, while that of the Kujo clan is to guard Inazuma. These two are of the same ilk.
Lisa, kind of like Kaya, to me, should sound a little flirty because obviously every time you run into her with the Traveler, you know, she's calling you a cutie and all this stuff. The voice that fit that description in my mind the best was the Japanese. And, you know, while you're in the Japanese, you could also just go around and climb some mountains if you want, and you probably already know how that sounds.
あなたの頑張る姿、お姉さんが全部見ておいてあげたわよ。どんなご褒美をあげようかしら。
Lumine will not be joining her brother in the Korean tier, so once again they're going to be separated just like in game. I'm going to be putting Lumine in the Japanese. I think the others were fine as well. There wasn't one that I felt really fit the character better than the others in this situation, so it was just the matter of, you know, which one slightly edged out the others or which one do I prefer the most. Maybe it's because I'm more used to hearing the Japanese voice for her, but in the end, obviously, I picked the Japanese tier.
モンドは風の国だってみんなは言うけど、今の季節、風向きがどっちなのか知らないな。
Also going into the Japanese tier, we have Mona. I believe this one came down to closing my eyes, picturing Mona, listening to the voices, and just deciding which one felt the best.
変えられない、逆らえない、受け入れる以外何もできないのが運命の運命たるゆえんなのです。
As for Ning Wang, I was looking for her to maintain a more formal tone in her voice, but you could also detect some more softer tones underneath because she obviously does care about the people in the city of Liyue. The voice that I felt fit that description the best would actually be the Korean. However, I do really like her Japanese voice as well.
가격 협상이나 상업 경쟁에서 기세나 조건은 다음이야. 이기고 싶다면 먼저 상대의 히든 카드를 파악해야 돼.
I wanted Noelle to sound younger because I believe in lore she's like 14. I don't know if we're counting up years as the game goes on because then maybe she's 15 now, but either way, she's still very young, but she's also training to be a Knight of Favonius. I expect her to have a little bit of unsureness in her voice because obviously she hasn't yet become a Knight of Favonius as she needs more training and whatnot. So in my opinion, there should be a slightly nervous tone in some of the voice lines and also just softer overall. Now, as for which one I felt checked those boxes the best, it was actually the Chinese.
交给我吧，什么都可以交给我。对了，你要拜托我做什么来着？我还没来得及听。
Chi-Chi, I also believe, should sound younger. I mean, she might be, who knows how old at this point, because she technically is a zombie of some type. But her character does appear younger, so I wanted her to have a younger sounding voice, but also just kind of sound very monotone, very zombie-like, I guess, if you could put it that way. In the end, the voice that I picked for her was, again, the Chinese.
你先休息吧，我该去做柔软体操了。 不要偷看。
I want to say for the Raiden Shogun that it isn't coming down to bias, but I am so used to hearing her with the Japanese voice, so it might be, it's hard to tell. I'm hoping it's not, but I did put her in the Japanese voice actor section. I just like that within some of the Raiden Shogun voice lines, you still get that kind of colder character, but then when she switches into A, it sounds so much softer and inviting and just kind. Plus, I've been using Raiden Shogun with the Japanese voice since her release on my main account almost every single day.
朝の挨拶をしたそばからあくびをするなんてたるんでいる証拠かと。ですが、今回はその無礼を許しましょう。おはようございます。
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like looking at Razor as a character, he kind of looks a little depressed. And I mean, also incorporating in his story of he doesn't really have a family, he doesn't feel accepted anywhere. It kind of feeds into that idea. So with the voice lines, I wanted them to be a little bit more monotone-ish, but also just sound a bit more down on himself. Not that I want him to sound that way, but I just feel like that's what he would sound the most like. Now, ultimately, I did choose Japanese for him. I do feel maybe the Japanese is just slightly too deep, but out of all the voices, I felt that this one portrayed the qualities that I was most looking for this character.
Kaminome, 師匠のおかげ。雷の牙で戦う。ルピカ守る。
Rosaria is another character where I didn't feel like she should be super emotive and high-pitched and, you know, just talking like a normal character would. Because, you know, she was an assassin. She does appear to be kind of done with everything. And she just goes out, tails people, investigates things, seems suspicious of everyone. So I kind of wanted all of that to play into her voice. And the one that I felt represented all of those qualities the best was actually the Korean.
신이 모든 인간을 포용할 수 있다지만 다 돌봐주진 않을걸? 안 그럼 인간의 고난이 무의미해질 거 아니야.
For Kokomi, I was looking for a youthful sound, yet also modest, and maybe some hints of her inner child coming out because obviously she is still a younger character at the end of the day. I am very used to the Japanese voice for her and I do like it. However, I felt that the Korean portrayed that more youthful aspect of her just a little bit better, so I'm going to be putting her up in the Korean tier.
야외 출판사의 여러 작품들은 병법의 원리를 알기 쉽게 풀어놔서 마음에 들어.
Sayu, I pretty much just wanted her to sound younger and sound tired all of the time. However, I did want little hints of emotion behind that tiredness as well, but the tiredness usually associates with more monotone because, you know, you're just tired, you're not putting a ton of emotion into your voice. All in all, I did end up picking the Chinese voice actor for her.
确认完毕，方圆10里内没有巫女姐姐的踪影。今晚可以睡个好觉啦。
Sucrose. I wanted Sucrose to be nervous. I wanted her to sound very innocent, nervous, and just awkward in any kind of social setting. So the voice that I decided best represented what I was looking for in the character was the Japanese voice.
あれは何？消えた。ちょっと見てきていい？
With Tartaglia, I actually liked a lot of them. I do believe that he should have a bit of a more playful tone, and thus I decided to put him in the Japanese category. In some of his voice lines, his laugh almost sounds a bit over the top, but that actually seems to fit what we've seen in game. In the Geo Archon story quest, when we're up at Chi-Chi's pharmacy, she tells us to go find Coco Goat, and we try. When we come back, Tartaglia laughs at us hysterically, and I felt that he was almost laughing too much, so I feel that pairs well with the Japanese voice.
俺の故郷の雪原でこんな風に立ってたら投資してしまうよ。
I thought that I really liked Toma's Japanese voice, and then when I listened through all of them, I found that I actually liked the Chinese a little bit more. It's hard to explain, because obviously all of this is just personal preference, but I just felt that it sounded a bit more like Toma. It's kind of a weird thing to say, because obviously they're all Toma.
快走快走，这个点去市场买鱼能便宜不少。要是心血来潮想买什么小玩意儿，我帮你砍价。
As for Venti, again, I wanted him to sound a little bit younger. I know technically he's very old, but in the body he's currently inhabiting, I felt that he needed a very youthful voice, kind of playful, and more of a softer tone because at the end of the day, he is a bard, so we should be able to hear the voice and think, yeah, this person could probably sing bard songs. And the voice that I chose for Venti was the Chinese voice.
练习？我当然不需要啦。 在这提瓦特就没有我不会唱的歌。
With Zhang Li, the voice that I ended up liking the most for this character was the Korean, and it's a little tough to explain here, but just listening to that voice, thinking of that character, out of all of them, it just seemed to fit the best to me.
난 리월에서 온 요리사 향릉이야. 다양한 요리가 내 특기지. 아휴, 연습을 많이 했는데도 이렇게 긴장되네.
Now, I know technically Xiao doesn't really have emotions, or at least he doesn't show them. But when it comes to the voices, I was listening through all of them, obviously, and I did like the Chinese quite a bit, but ultimately I chose the Japanese. It did feature just slightly more softer undertones, showing that he does care about other people. And I think that's important because he would not be doing what he's doing if he didn't care about everyone else.
オーナ、族ナ、カナ、水ナ、羅刹ナ、ダキニキナ、毒薬難の際は我が名を呼びたまえ。三眼五剣仙人、将。召喚に応じ参上。
Xingqiu, I was looking for a lighter voice, someone maybe a little bit playful, because, you know, they like to play pranks over in Leeway with him and Hu Tao, but the voice I ended up picking was the Japanese.
おはよう。朝の時間は貴重だから、自分の好きなことができたらいいな。
Shinyan's a character that I feel has a very distinctive appearance, and thus I felt should have a very distinct voice. She likes to play her rock music, and thus I wanted the voice to kind of have that rock, almost punk feeling to it, kind of playful and a bit of roughness in there. And out of the 4 languages that are voiced, I decided on the Korean for fitting that sort of idea the most.
알겠어. 먼저 가서 자. 나? 난 악기도 관리해야 하고 편곡도 하고 싶은데 막 무대에서 내려오면 피곤해도 잠이 안 와.
As for Yanfei, it really came down to the pitch of the voice because I think all of them did a pretty good job. I liked the Japanese a little bit more because it wasn't as high-pitched. It was kind of more mature sounding. And as someone who is a legal authority, I felt that that fit her better.
法は制約であり、道具でもある。しっかりと頭に入れておけ。もし忘れたら、
もう一回教えてやらなくもない。
We are getting down to the last few characters here, but with Yoimiya, I was actually surprised. I did like the English voice actor quite a bit for her. Normally, as you could probably tell, I tend to prefer the Asian languages a little bit more. Not that I even knew that I preferred Korean or Chinese until I listened to them, but I think that the Japanese just barely beats out English in my opinion, though I don't mind listening to the English voice actor for her at all. Obviously, I just wanted her to sound playful and very friendly because that's kind of the vibe that she gives off, if you want to put it that way.
おはようさ。朝の空気はすがすがしくて気持ちええな。深呼吸して頭もすっきりや。
And last but not least, we have Zhang Li. And this is a hard one because I actually like every single voiceover for this character. I think they all do a great job, just like all the voice actors for every character. They all have a nice, deep, warmer tone to them. They all sound very soothing to listen to. I really don't know where to put them. You know, I didn't put any characters in this list in the spot that they're in just to give that language a larger amount of characters. With Zhang Li though, I literally like all of them an equal amount. So I'm just gonna put them up in English just because that's the one with the least so far. And Korean and Chinese are tied, which looks nice. This ends on 2 rows of the same amount, so that looks nice. So just to keep it aesthetically pleasing, we'll put them up in the English.
Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember. But where are those who share the memory?
欲买桂花同载酒，只可惜故人何日再见呢？
花と酒を手に景色を堪能しようとしたが、あの頃とはもう違う。悠々とまた。
개화꽃을 사서 좋은 술을 가지고 옛 친구와 함께 뱃놀이를 가고 싶으나 옛 친구는 언제 다시 만날 수 있으려나.
So, again, this is all just personal preference, and I believe that the voice actors did a great job for all of these characters. At the end of the day, this is just me looking at the character, hearing the voices, and picking which one I felt fit them the best. You don't have to agree with this. In fact, I want you to go down in the comments, tell me what language you play the game in, and if you've listened to the voices for other characters, let me know what your favorite few voiceover languages are for your respective favorite characters. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.